Welcome. It is so great to see you all here today for this virtual gathering around the theme of moving forward together, servant leadership during crisis. My name is Nancy Hopkins, and I'm Director of Programs at the Presidential Precinct based in the U.S. state of Virginia. And we have been honored to host 150 Mandela Washington Fellows for a summer Leadership and Civic Engagement Institute for the past 6 years now. And I serve as Academic Director for our institute. Let me start by saying just a little bit about the wonderful Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. This program began in 2014, and it's a flagship of the U.S. Department of State's Young African Leaders Initiative, YALI, which empowers young leaders from sub-Saharan Africa with the opportunity to hone their skills in business, in civic engagement, and public management at a U.S. college or university, with ongoing support for professional development after they return home. The fellows are drawn from a pool of young leaders between the ages of 25 and 35 from every country across sub-Saharan Africa. They have really diverse backgrounds, but the thing that ties them together is they all have an established track record of promoting innovation and positive impact in their companies, their organizations, and their communities. And after the fellowship, when they return to their home countries, they broaden and deepen that tremendous impact. So I don't know about you, but here in my hometown of Charlottesville, everyone keeps saying for the past 6 months, these are such challenging times. These are such unprecedented times. And it's been really interesting and honestly inspirational to see how everyone is trying to pivot to continue the work that we do in our family relationships and community relationships, even during this very strange time. During the current COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. Department of State and IREX have made the decision to postpone this year's Mandela Washington Fellowship until summer 2021 and suspend in-person activities for the fellowship alumni, quite understandably. But in the meantime, they're really committed to continuing to deliver value and opportunities for young leaders across the continent. So to fill this gap, IREX and the Fellowship's Institute partners are collaborating on a series of virtual programs that are meant to bring alumni and selected candidates for 2021, American partners, and other fellowship stakeholders together to explore strategies for leading in times of crisis and during changing, complicated paradigms. As part of that effort, the Presidential Precinct had the opportunity to develop a virtual course on the topic of resilient leadership, overcoming setbacks and helping your team thrive. And this course provides lectures and activities and other resources on how resilience helps leaders sustain positive energy under pressure, cope with disruption, uncertainty, and change, and recover from setbacks. It was really rewarding to have the chance to put together that course in collaboration with faculty at William & Mary and the University of Virginia, as well as with some of our community partners. I believe there have been about 10 courses launched already, and it's a really great set of resources. Now I'd like to move us on to our exciting program for today. One neat feature of the fellowship is that annually recognizes one outstanding member of the alumni network who embodies exemplary leadership through the Leadership Impact Award. Today, we are excited to be joined by 2020 Leadership Impact Award winner and good governance advocate, Ibrahima Kalil Gueye of Guinea. Ibrahima and I are good friends since he did his Leadership and Civic Engagement Institute with the Precinct in 2018. And we're also delighted to welcome the 2019 Leadership Impact Award winner and maternal health practitioner, Adepeju Jaiyeoba of Nigeria. She's a new friend, and I can't wait to get to know you, Peju, better during this conversation. Our session today is going to focus on the ways in which fellowship alumni like Ibrahima and Adepeju are using servant leadership approaches to navigate the challenges of these complex times during the COVID-19 pandemic, and to inspire others to adopt the same strategies to increase the impact of their leadership in their own contexts. In terms of format, we will do about 30 minutes of dialogue and conversation, and then we're really interested in taking your questions. So be sure to post them on the live stream, and they will certainly make their way to us. We look forward to hearing from you. So now I'm going to turn to our two Leadership Impact Award winners. Maybe we could start a little bit just by catching up. And for our audience who's tuning in today, it would be great if you could tell us a bit about yourself and your work, and what you've been up to since you participated in the Mandela Washington Fellowship. And also maybe to touch on how the fellowship has helped you strengthen your impact as a leader, and also how the broader Yali network has done that as well. Ibrahima, maybe we'll start with you, and then we'd love to turn to Adepeju for that question.
Thank you, Nancy. Hello, everyone. My name is Ibrahima Kalil Gueye. I'm from Guinea. I'm a 2018 Mandela Washington Fellow from Presidential Precinct. I have been advocating for good governance, fighting corruption and peace building for several years. I'm a founder and president of the NGO Organization for Positive Change and the nationwide program called Open and Transparent Guinea. And the Mandela Washington Fellowship is like the program that gave me the confidence I have always sought in my voluntary actions. It has not only helped me to become a more effective leader, but I also gained much exposure all over the country after the fellowship. Right after the fellowship, from an inspiration taken during the Africa Idea Summit, alongside my peers and partners, such as the cabinet of the presidency and the US and UK embassies, I have organized the first National Governors Forum in February 2019 with ministers, ambassadors, several leaders of companies, NGOs and press as panelists and speakers. The forum was a success with 300 participants, yes. The idea was to organize discussions about corruption, facilitation of administrative procedures, and governance in the mining, investment, education, and employment sectors in Guinea. Yeah, this program changed my career's orientation since I became the president of the National Governors Forum Commission, which has to follow up all the statements made during and after the forum, and provide regular data and reports. I became then a recognized member of the civil society since the forum. Not long after the forum, we realized that the information we learned during the forum must be shared with people living in rural areas, and that it was important to train them on participative governance, including fighting corruption and peacekeeping notions. With this idea, some of my fellow alumni and I won the 2019 Alumni Engagement Innovative Fund to organize then the National Governance Marathon in all the cities of Guinea in order to organize conferences, workshops, and discussions with communities.
Great, thank you. It's so great to hear everything you've done since your return home and how you've really used the fellowship as a springboard for these activities. I suspect, based on everything you just said, this might have something to do with why you were selected as the winner this year, all these fantastic activities. Adepeju, we'd love to hear from you. What have you been up to recently, and how's your work going?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Nancy. So I went on the fellowship in 2014. I was at the University of Texas at Austin, where I received lectures around business and entrepreneurship. I think that for me, it was a critical point in the things that I was doing. I was mainly running an NGO. I just started a social enterprise. I really needed to understand the concept of building sustainability around the work that we do, and how that can also continue to cause impact and have ripple effects on the society and generally everyone that our work affects. So attending the Mandela Washington Fellowship helped give me clarity to the goals. It also helped provide some support for the work that I was doing, which was in maternal health. Basically, I was running mothers' delivery kits, which was producing delivery kits to be used across different rural communities in Nigeria. From that moment of attending the fellowship, I went on to intern at the United Nations Foundation in DC, and then received seed funding to kickstart my work fully in Nigeria from the US African Development Foundation. And since then, it has been a progressive movement. One thing I have come to understand over the years is that the Mandela Washington Fellowship program is not just the function of the year that we have attended the fellowship, but I have found that the mentoring continues, the support continues, the direction and guidance that comes from the fellowship continues. I mean, so till this day, I still receive mentoring, some support, some direction, some guidance from not only USADF, but even people at my institute. I mean, we are regularly in touch, regularly in contact, and everyone is just excited about all the things, going on for all the countries where we are from. Moving on from just setting up mother's delivery kits, I also moved on to launching a new business during the pandemic, which is a business around baby food and solving the malnutrition debacle in Africa. I mean, so it's a whole lot of work affecting different communities and basically catering for maternal and child health across board. Because we come to realize that more than half of the children that we have been able to save using our mother's delivery kits will not even live to see their 5th birthday. They're going to die of malnutrition. And all those things come together to help us fully develop an all-round approach to attacking or all-round approach to dealing with the issue of maternal and child health. So over the years, it's been some work around maternal health, it's been some work around child health, it's been some work around community building, it's been some work around even evolving and reflecting the changes we really want to see in the community. It's all about creating behavioral changes for the people we serve and them understanding that we are just here to help you.
Great. I love what you said about one takeaway from the fellowship was clarity. I think that really sticks with me. And also, I don't know if you all caught that, but she said that she launched a new business during the pandemic, which is extremely impressive. We'll love to hear more about that. So thanks for putting that on the table. So let's go on to talk about the pandemic. We're now 6 months in and, here in Virginia, we're as you know, the U.S. has been quite hard hit. So how are you all doing in the context of COVID-19 and what does COVID look like in your community? And I think it would be great for folks to hear about how it has affected your day-to-day work. And we talked a bit earlier about kind of the pivoting. What does your pivot look like during COVID-19? Maybe we'll start with you, Peju, and then would love to hear from Ibrahima.
So I'll say, I'm doing fine. And what I mean by that basically is all the things we were afraid of doing, all the things we thought would not work, all the things we practically have thought of before and put aside thinking, oh, this is not going to work, were all the things we fell back on during the pandemic. And I'll give an example. Okay, so for instance, even before the pandemic, we had created an online learning system for our birth attendants that we train regularly. But we made it wasn't something that was compulsory, it was just optional. Anyone who had access to a mobile phone, an Android phone can easily access the site and everything. But those were things we had to fall back on. Because you see, we were largely affected by the pandemic because most of our work is contact-based. So we do trainings, we go to facilities where we not only sell kits, we now do trainings for these health workers. Women, we do live trainings with health workers. We do a number of stuff that involve one-on-one contact with the people that we meet with. And so when the pandemic came, it was really unexpected. Also given the fact that Nigeria was largely shut down for about 4 months and everything was practically closed. I mean, that meant some very, very dire consequences for the pregnant women at that time. It was like being pregnant in a pandemic was fast becoming a cost because anytime you show up at the hospital, even for malaria, it's going to be treated like a likely COVID-19 case. And I am very certain of the fact that high maternal deaths were recorded around that period, not because they had COVID, but because health workers needed to also protect themselves. I mean, it was worse in rural communities where to even access facilities were ordinarily a challenge. It became even double the challenge because now when you get to the facilities, no one even wants to come near you. I mean, some will ask you to go do a test first and then you have to travel down to a big facility to get the test done. And to get the test done was not even easy. I mean, so one of the things that we tried to do during the pandemic was to introduce a system where health workers will go home visiting, but then they have to be fully dressed in their PPEs and everyone has to be fully kitted. I mean, so we had that for very, very serious cases in hard-to-reach areas. I mean, so those were part of the ways that we pivoted during the pandemic. Another thing we did during the pandemic was we also had to embark on a new sensitization trip. I mean, because normally when people give birth in my part of the country, we do, my part of the world, we do some naming ceremonies. People come together, they celebrate. Everybody wants to, give some testimonies about how they were rescued from death and childbirth and things like that. But, we had to all step that down, and we had to sensitize people about that. I mean, your child is still going to bear a name, even if you don't do a naming ceremony. It's still fine. We understand that tradition says, naming ceremony or occurrences have depicted tradition as naming ceremony after 7 days and people coming together. But we all had to get used to the fact that there's a pandemic here and it's contact-based, and we have to reduce limits, especially for babies who do not even have enough immunity at that time. I mean, so those were some of the ways that we pivoted during the pandemic. We introduced our online classes more to get attendance. We had WhatsApp groups where people were conversing regularly and asking questions about the challenges they were facing. We also had women health workers who now go into hard-to-reach communities to try and help ensure that there was safe delivery.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, because you're involved, as you said, in such a high-touch, high-contact field. And how do you shift that to low-touch, low-contact, but still achieve impact and deliver these critical services? So how about you, Ibrahima? What has this meant for your community outreach and your advocacy work and your campaigns? Tell us a bit about how you're coping.
Yeah, like almost everywhere in the world, the effects of the pandemic are being felt in all areas. Employment has been gravely impacted overall because many have lost their jobs here. But the agriculture sector in particular has struggled because farmers have difficulty finding many products essential for cultivation due to a very limited importations. Which is not a good news at all. I know this firsthand because I just have returned from a research adventure in the countryside, and these are among remarks that I was able to record. We are somewhat fortunate in the fact that the death rate is not is low here in Guinea. Where out of nearly 10,000 positive cases, we have less than 70 deaths. So yes, the impact is that the disease and its effects have added to extreme poverty in the population. Resources that were scarce are almost invisible now, despite the government economic riposte. COVID-19 partially reduced my working time on the project that I was involved with my colleague, and since it was our responsibility to face the crisis together, we decided to engage with a big NGOs platform, within which we bring our responses. Our responses on and our expertise on strategy and digital communication. As our fellow Pierre Balamu said in the religion leadership as a lifelong practice course, we should keep moving toward our objective as resilience leaders. So everything had to be done not only to alert communities of the dangers of the disease, but according to our objective, to invite them to be more vigilant by keeping citizens' eyes on the way in which resources are managed to avoid a second embezzlement related to a disease crisis management after Ebola business. Our role in preventing corruption through information has not stopped. We have tried to adapt it to the situation. Since we had enough time to learn how to live with this virus before the end of the crisis, I think we need to apply new approaches that can help to overturn. The next 6 months should be maybe the time of reconstruction and dynamism to end the crisis while activities are progressing normally. Mm-hmm. I believe that is possible.
Mm. Well, that is encouraging to hear. And I was glad you mentioned the link, possible link between corruption and a public health crisis. I've been doing some interesting readings about that, and I was wondering if it was something that you were concerned about and seeing in your work and focusing on in your work. So that's really an interesting and striking angle of what you're doing. Yeah. Maybe to shift a bit and to get into some conversation about the topic of resilience. One thing I've been struggling with during the pandemic is to kind of wake up every day in a situation of uncertainty. We all have so many questions about when this is going to end and how long we're going to do this. And, it's uncertainty and ambiguity and some fear, if I'm honest with myself. And that's kind of hard to sustain. For you all, what has been the most challenging part of this for you? What has been the biggest, most difficult thing that you've been grappling with? And specifically, how have you been able to address that challenge? I think we can probably learn from some of your experience. So I think whichever one of you wants to take that first, would love to hear from whoever wants to jump in.
Yeah, at the professional level, the challenge were enormous at the start of the epidemic. It has coincided with our activities, which should bring together many people, including the National Governance Forum, which with full responsibility and out of respect for the instruction of our partners and the state, we have stopped everything and therefore continue our activities online, because our activities are centered on the ground and online. We are therefore committed to a large platform to fight against COVID-19, which distributes masks and kits to the population free of charge. So the biggest challenge I have been facing during this period is the fact that I need to take decisions about everything. I need to choose who is going to be involved in the COVID-19 riposte action with all the risks related, and who is going to follow our objectives and how to coordinate all of them. But it became easier since we have the culture of taking collective decisions. And I think with my colleague, we have made good decisions. Personally, my daily life has changed considerably, and due to the fragility of my health condition at times, I have self-confined for a very long time, and my small for-profit activities has been wiped out. Overall, I still consider myself very fortunate, and was able to gain perspective and reflect on the benefits of this crisis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. You kind of referred to what we call decision fatigue. It can be exhausting to have to make all these decisions when the stakes are really high. I mean, I even have it in my own household, much less my work life, and it can be hard. But I think you just pointed toward a pathway is to look at that as a collective effort, as opposed to feeling as leaders that it's all on us, that we need to come together to help make decisions so that fatigue doesn't fall on any one person. How about you, Adepeju? What have you been grappling with? Any specific challenge and any insights into how you got through it?
Well, I would say that at the beginning of the pandemic, it was very, very challenging. I remember my husband looking at me maybe 2 days into the pandemic, and he was basically asking me, okay, so how are you going to survive this? Because I know you don't sit down in one place. And I'm just like, I really don't know. Because I'm not one to sit down or be confined in a particular place. And then here I am faced with this pandemic. Everybody's on lockdown. We don't know for how long. And then we are going to just be in this house, and, I'm just going to sit down this way. So it was very, very challenging. Work has basically gone down, and we needed to do something. But I also took that as an opportunity to see the other things that we can do. And for me, making decisions was also very, very difficult. I mean, there was no stable timetable. Everything was unpredictable, Nancy. Yeah. Every single thing was unpredictable. So today, I have two sons. The school will send an email and say that they are doing online school. And that means that basically I would have to sit with two children under 3 to do online school. And then after that, it would be something else another day. And it's just unpredictable. And even when government started relaxing the lockdown and easing it and making work time some few hours a day, it was also still really hard to be able to design something or a working schedule that can let you continue your work progressively. Even up till now, it's still not balanced, Nancy. I won't lie to you. It's still not balanced. But I look at the positives. I look at all the things we took the opportunity of the lockdown to start. I look at all the people we were able to reach during the lockdown too. I look at all the lives we were able to save. I look at the new business we were able to start. I look at all those things. And I look at the period I took for internal reflection to see how I can be better at the things that I do, to see how I can actually strategize with the things that I also do. I mean, I look at those things as a win of the pandemic. And, in some cases, when life gives you lemonade, I mean, you just, life gives you lemon, you make lemonade, and then you sell it for a price, So it's been very challenging. The unpredictability nature of the pandemic has been the most challenging thing for me. There is no structure to anything. Everything is unpredictable. And the fact that we have been able to still pull something out of the pandemic, I mean, I think it speaks a lot to the resilience of many young people out there.
Agreed. And that's actually a perfect segue to the next question that I wanted to probe around on. But I think there was a gem in there, what you said about having a positive outlook and a positive attitude. Through my conversations with people recently who study and work in the field of resilience, that has emerged as actually a really important strategy for getting through tough times, is to try to find those moments, those rays of sunshine in a really tough situation. Another thing that we've been talking about resilience internally in our team is that it's not a fixed thing. It's not something that people are born with and get lucky with. It's really more like a muscle that you can build over time. And for me, that was a really big aha moment, the idea that we can become more resilient. So do you see this in your lives? Do you see yourself becoming more resilient over time as you kind of get through a challenge after challenge? And, you mentioned positive attitude, but it would be great if the two of you could offer reflections on what are some other strategies that you are using to increase your ability to get through tough times and operate in times of crisis. And also would love to hear any thoughts you have about self-care, which is another thing we've been talking about a lot lately. So maybe Ibrahima, go first, and then we'd love to go back to Peju on this question.
Okay. Yeah, I think the things that helped me to prepare this moment is actually the leadership courses that I have been taking during, such as Mandela Washington Fellowship, Yali Dakar, and Yali Network. I'm trying to be like a kind of guardian of my community in good or bad moments. It also helped me to realize that I'm not so useful in the front line in this fight because I'm not a healthcare professional, but I can contribute by doing anything in my possibility to develop effective strategies and help with communication. So in addition to my actions to alert and prevent corruption through information, I visited the largest gold zone in the country to assess the impact of mining activities on children education, the environment, and agriculture. And let me tell you that the results are alarming. The objective of this first trip was to really understand things in order to develop initiatives to denounce and solve these problems through sustainable approaches.
Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like a very dire situation. Yeah. Will you be releasing the results of that report? It sounds like something that would be very interesting for folks to read. So we'll look forward to that release and to getting your insights. So
sure.
How about you, Peju? Any tips or tools that you use to flex that resilience muscle and to build it over time?
I think that I basically just sat down one day and I kept on talking to myself. And one of the things that I told myself was actually to, first of all, do a reflection of the past. And one of the things I told myself was, look, if you can, with a degree in law, pursue a course in maternal and child health, start a business around maternal health, and then start a business around baby food and malnutrition. I mean, what is pandemic? What is COVID-19? I mean, that's just something not so significant. I mean, you can match through this period. So it was basically about me using my past experiences, using my own personal growth levels to be able to get through the period. And I just told myself, in every challenge, which is the truth, in every challenge, you would always find an opportunity. If you look at all the work that we are doing, both Ibrahima and myself, and a lot of young people out there, it was born out of a particular challenge. I mean, the only thing different about this challenge and all the challenges we have faced is that this is a global pandemic. This is something that is contact-based, and these are things around science and is following a particular pattern and things like that. You know, and of course, they're still trying to develop a vaccine for it. But if you look at every other thing, the strategies are almost similar. I mean, the way you wade through a particular crisis in your life, a time when you had nothing and had to rise, a time when you had to do something you did not even know you could do, you know, it's the same methodology to go through the pandemic. No one has lived through this global pandemic before. I mean, so it is comforting to me knowing that, I mean, we are all finding our way through this together. There is nobody that has a ready-made handbook on how to go through COVID-19. No one has it. We are all grappling and trying to find our way through the pandemic together. And for that reason alone, it was comforting to me because I know that the same way I'm trying to find my way through challenges is the same way Nancy is trying to find her way through challenges, the same way Ibrahima is finding this new. No one has a manual for it. We are all winging it and seeing where everything leads to. It was very comforting knowing that and trying to follow best practices based on previous experiences that I've had around going through challenges myself.
Yeah, I like that image of it sort of being cumulative, you know, and to learning from the past to help us get through new situations that we've never encountered before. So, Ibrahima, do you see yourself in that dynamic that Peju just described, where you see yourself kind of reflecting on past things that you thought were tough, and then something else comes along and you're like, okay, didn't see this coming. This is tough, but I'm going to use what I learned to get through it. Do you see that sort of growth process in yourself?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great, and it kind of gives us hope that that we can, you know, build it up over time. So, one thing we wanted to talk about too was the connection between resilience and servant leadership, and you know, the idea that not only do we need to be resilient as servant leaders, but also I think we do have some responsibility to help build up the resilience of our teams and our colleagues. You know, team resilience and institutional resilience is also a thing. I would love to hear any reflections from the two of you about how you shore up resilience in others. How do we help others flex that muscle and build that muscle? And what does that dynamic look like in your team and in your organizations? Maybe Peju, you could comment first, and then would love to hear from Ibrahima.
So for me, showing up resilience in my team and basically in the places that we work for, even in myself, is something I also lived through past experiences. And I would explain what this means. I mean, every time I look at the fact that whenever you want to do something like going into a new community, or even when we started the kids, trying to introduce it to birth attendants and things like that, everyone will ask you, why are you doing this? What's in this for you? I mean, are you sure? What do you hope to gain from this? I mean, okay, so really, yes, I understand you want us to do this, you want behavioral changes, but why are you really doing this? You know, people will question you. People will doubt you. People would raise eyebrow at every step that you take. Some people would outrightly even reject you. I mean, I think it's all part of servant leadership. It is understanding that, look, I understand your trust issues. I understand the problems over the years. I mean, because these people have probably encountered a lot of people who told them they have come to help and then just maybe took some nice photos, posted it, got some grant and disappeared. I mean, that's probably what has brought up trust issues. Also, it could also be culture and tradition. There's a particular way we have been doing this thing. It has not failed. I mean, why are you fixing or trying to fix something that has not been broken or that is not broken and all those things? I mean, I think that sometimes the burden is really, really heavy and high on servant leadership and leaders who are very resilient sometimes. And that's why I like the point you made about self-care, because sometimes you just have to develop a way to wade through all these no's, to wade through all this why you, to wade through all this why you every time, to wade through all this, okay, so what's in it for you? What are you hoping to get out of this? You know, because there are questions that we hear consistently every single time. Why you? Why this? Why that? I mean, but as servant leaders, we understand that it's not about what, you know, you are even talking about. It's about us coming together to help our community. And that's what I tell my teammates every time. I mean, we are a team, not just because we are working together, but because we care for each other, because we truly look out for each other, because we are all working towards a common and unified goal here, which is to help everybody get better at what they do, to help the communities get better. And in trying to help the communities better, we are not trying to force them to do something they do not want to do. We are trying to get them to get ownership of whatever it is we are building, because that is the only way true change can happen. So servant leadership and resilience, two very key fundamental things that I think also links to self-care, because people would always doubt you. People would always question your intentions. People would always use themselves as a standard to measure you and what you want to do. But you are the one, as a servant leader, who now has the body to disprove all this and tell them, look, I'm in this because I really want to make change happen for everybody. I'm in this because I really want to make sure that everybody has equal opportunities, or or make sure that everyone is able to get better at every single thing they are doing. I mean, so the burden is high on servant leadership. It's also indirectly high on your team members who feel discouraged when they hear no, or who think they should not even go on again, who think, you know, this community has rejected us, let's just move to the next community. That's not how it works. We have to gradually try and worm our ways into everything, you know, that they are doing, and try to tell them, we are not here to discard whatever it is you have. We are here to partner with you to help make your work better, to see how we can work together for a better community, not for anything else. There's nothing in this for me. It's about you and growth for the community.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said about not getting stuck in the why me, the why us, but instead to think about what now. You know, it's okay to ask why me, but then to move on to the what now is, I think, really important in terms of what you said. Ibrahima, how do you see the link between servant leadership and resilience, and how do you build up the resilience of your team? How do you make sure that the folks who are on your team are able to get up every day and keep going? And in times of crisis, how do you support and motivate them?
Nancy, I see resilience as one of the fundamental qualities of a good servant leader, because we are all sure that community life is based on crisis, normal situation, and sometimes prosperity. So we need to aim to change all negative periods into opportunities to learn and act positively. Accordingly, in order to move towards prosperity, the best way to shore up our resilience is to mutualize our efforts as a team, sensitizing and training all the actors about the importance of our resilience individually and as a group. People should be aware of it's necessary in order to move forward. I think that's easy for us in our team, because we have like I said, we have the culture of making collective decisions.
Yeah, what you said is really powerful, that idea of the collective, and to support each other and be there for each other. I think it's just important to remember that we're not in this alone. And even though our experience is unique and different, each of us, there's a lot of commonalities there, and there's a lot of force and energy in that collective dynamic that you're describing. I do want to turn in just a minute to some great questions that we have from folks who have tuned in to the live stream today. But let me ask just one more before we do that. So people who know me know that I really do not like buzzwords. Anytime there's like a hot topic word that's in the news headlines or that everybody's saying, I'm not into buzzwords. And one of those buzzwords is disruption. But I have to say, it's a helpful concept here because I do think that disruption has the potential to spark valuable, positive shifts in the way that we think and in the way that we work and in the way that we interact. So before we go to some audience questions, I would love it if you could tell us about maybe one thing that you've learned about yourself during the pandemic and how you're going to use that going forward. Whichever one of you wants to start.
Oh, all right. I can say that all of the yearly programs has prepared me a bit to face crises and be able to overcome them with courage and flexibility. However, I discovered during this period that it was quite possible for me to live in a rural area because community actions really make sense there more than anywhere else. I understood that my contribution to development at the local level is possible and very urgent.
Great. How about you, Peju?
Oh, well, for me, I used to think that, I mean, you can't really like rest. Like you really need to, I usually don't have like time out for self-care. And this was like a forced self-care period. I mean, I hardly also have time for internal reflections, like just stepping out of everything and trying to see what was happening. It was always about go for me. I mean, so this time, I mean, I understood fully how to self-care. I also understood fully how important the need for internal reflection is. I mean, sometimes you just need to step out of the whole thing. I mean, it's fine. You don't think you need it, but I think that it's important to step out of situations and do some self-analysis and even try to fine-tune things. You'll find out that it brings out the best in you. You are able to even be more productive at the things that you do.
Yeah, these are hard lessons to learn. They're tough lessons to learn, but if we can marshal them for, future reference when we hit tough times, I think it can really serve us well. So great. Okay, so now we pivot to the part of the program where we get to take some wonderful questions from your fellow fellows. So maybe we'll take this question from João from Mozambique first. And I think based on the question, I'm going to kick it to you, Ibrahima. João says that in his community, working online cannot reach those in need because only those who are better off have the capacity to pay for smart devices and internet airtime. So in the context of the crisis, where a lot of stuff has to go digital, because we can't be in personal touch, what advice do you have for operating in those types of resource-constrained and lower bandwidth environments? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can just say that in our context, the pandemic effect is not so deep in the countryside. So the population, the community living in the countryside are not too much affected in terms of the health conditions. But they have been affected by the fact that importations are very difficult in order for them to make their cultivations and all those things. They are not so IT over there. And for information actions, we have a kind of representative everywhere because we made a watch cells after the marathon in every single city of the country in order to control citizens' actions, to control public actions, and to report and provide solutions about any problems, any living problems in their zones.
Yeah. Good. That's helpful. Yeah, to think about how to get around some of these obstacles and think about operating in these difficult environments. Okay. Second question. This one's from Peter from South Sudan. Thanks, Peter. The question is a big one. How can Africa move forward with the efforts of the Mandela Washington Fellowship and YALI alumni during the COVID-19 pandemic, since there are economic challenges and social ties that are broken? What are your thoughts about the potential of alumni to help drive forward the post-COVID period?
Well, I think that there are huge potentials for the alumni here. I mean, the truth is that we are all excellent leaders in our space, which is what has led to our selection in the first place for the fellowship. I think that even during the pandemic, during the lockdown period in Nigeria, I mean, there were different activities and people kept doing different things in their little corner to be able to sensitize people, to be able to find their way through the processes, knowing that all of us are going through the same thing. No one has a manual for this thing. We are basically just trying to find our way through it. So I think that there is a huge potential for young Africans to be able to effect some very critical changes between not only within Africa, but even between Africa and the wider world. The important thing is understanding that each of us, we have a role to play in this. We have a duty to play. We have something to do. And not just because we are Mandela Washington Fellows, but even YALI members, even every young person, lighting one fire in each corner of our countries, coming together would become a big fire that would eventually help to warm everybody. I mean, so what that means basically is in your little corner of the world, shine. Do your best. Just bet on yourself and keep pushing. By the time we come together, all our efforts will amount to something significant that can help create the change that we desperately want to see.
Great. How about you, Ibrahima? Any thoughts about this big question of the role of this vibrant Mandela Washington Fellow and YALI network in driving the continent forward, given the big challenges of economic challenges and social ties that have been perhaps not totally broken, but definitely strained?
I think we just at this stage we just have to forget about big things. We have to do our small things. We have to be more engaged, and if we all of us try to make our own small things, I think the positive impact will be very big, and we will surely move forward.
And have you found yourself, would love to hear both of you, have you found yourself relying on the Mandela Washington Fellowship Network and the YALI Network during this tough time? Has it been a source of inspiration and advice and comfort to you during this difficult time, now more than ever?
Absolutely, for me, yes. So one thing that happened during the pandemic is also the fact that supply chain lines were broken, to distribute the things that we do and distribute products across the country and things like that. I have found myself leveraging effectively on some of the alumni of the Mandela Washington Fellowship program in Nigeria to set up new distribution chain lines to reach new communities. I have also seen myself over the past few months entering partnership with a few other alumni to be able to distribute the different products, the delivery kit, as well as the baby food in their own communities. So it has been very, very effective. We are basically just trying to help rebuild not only ourselves now, but even the communities. Everyone is trying to look out for their community, trying to help them get started again, from rising from the pandemic.
Yeah, great to hear. How about you, Ibrahima? Have you been drawing on the network in new ways or different ways?
Yeah, the context is somewhat different in our country, since our president is willing to go for a third term after his second one, and the context is we are actually in crisis. So it was not so easy to network on the ground, but I've been making good things with many fellows online, and it was a great time for me to learn also on good governance courses related to the yearly network.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, encouraging to hear that you found those online resources are useful. I know that it's kind of counterintuitive. I would think that during COVID, a lot of us would have more time than ever since we were, many of us stuck in our homes and with programs canceled. It's been hard to carve out time. I'm surprised at how the time gets filled, but I think it's important to do what you've been doing, Ibrahima, to take advantage of the weirdness to carve out time for professional development and learning and for those networking opportunities. Interesting. So we will take a third question from one of our audience members today. It's from Tendai from Malawi. And Tendai kind of read my mind. I was thinking about this same question myself. So I'll ask the question, then I'll build on it a little bit. So the question is, how does it feel to have your work recognized through the Leadership Impact Award? How did you feel when you found out that you were selected as the winner? So we'll take that piece first, and then I'll ask a follow-up.
Ibrahima, you're the latest winner. You should tell us how you felt.
All right. Let me tell you that I was going to break my fast, but because it was Ramadan when the email arrived, and I didn't. It was sufficient for me to break my fast. That message, it was so important for me, and I feel very comfortable, very happy about it, because it means that the fight that many people have been doing is recognized through my person. That is like the biggest things I learned about this recognition. It means that our work is so important, and it is the fight which should bring many people together.
Mm.
Yeah.
So for me, I remember when I won the Leadership Impact Award in 2019. I mean, it was, I do not think I have the right word to describe it, but I was just, it was just so overwhelming for me, because many of these things, Nancy, we do them without expecting anything back in return. We do them because we really just want to help others grow. We do them because it's not because we want anything. We do them, we enjoy doing them. We are passionate about it. These are things we really want to do. If you wake us up at 2 a.m., we are excited to jump out of bed and do them. So it's not something we were expecting that, in the future they will set up an award like this. And so since, I have this target, let me just build up activities so that I'll be able to get this. So it was so unexpected, and it was overwhelming for me. I didn't expect it. I did not expect it. And especially when they linked it to servant leadership, I think it just took the cake for me, because servant leadership it's yet to be fully understood by a lot of people. People do not believe in many parts of the world that you would actually want to do something because you just care, because you just want to help others, because you just feel that others should also be able to do better at the things that they do, And it was truly, truly heartwarming. I was really very happy, and it's still very emotional thinking about the Leadership Impact Award.
It's cool to be able to feel, even through Zoom, both of your excitement at this great honor. So I think we need to start to wrap up here. So let me ask the second part of Tendai's question, and I'm going to build on it a little bit. So Tendai wanted to know what advice that you can give for other fellows who are engaged in COVID-19 related initiatives in their communities. Do you have any advice for them as they're tackling the challenges presented by COVID? And I would like to then just expand that more broadly, because that was going to be my last question anyway. Do you have any final words of support and advice for all of the young and aspiring leaders who've joined us for this discussion today as they strive to make positive change in their countries and communities? whichever one wants to start, whoever's inspired.
Okay. Ibrahima. Okay, fine. So for me, I would say that for fellows working in and for young people working on COVID-19 relief programs or activities, I mean, it is first understanding that COVID-19 is just an additional challenge. The existing challenges that we were trying to tackle before the pandemic still remains. And COVID-19 is just an additional challenge to the challenges that we have been trying to tackle. So we can tackle COVID-19 challenge by also still continuing to tackle the existing challenge. I'll give you an example. I mean, so there's still this challenge of maybe girls not staying in school, or maybe there's this challenge of, say, birth attendants not treating pregnant women correctly, or midwife not treating pregnant women with dignity and things like that. COVID-19 has only made it worse. And it has also helped the midwife to somehow justify their inability to express some kind of emotions towards pregnant women, because they'll tell you they're trying to keep themselves safe. I mean, so we must recognize that as we continue to tackle COVID-19 in our communities, we must not forget to tackle all those issues that are underlying, that are emerging as a result of the presence of COVID-19 in our communities. I mean, it's a lot of work, but I believe that with time, everything will fall in place. And to your last question, Nancy, on what advice do I have for young leaders out there and people watching, I would say this. I mean, I always want to know that I'm not alone in something. I like to know that my challenges are not new. I like to know that every successful person that we see today has faced one challenge or the other. But it is the resilience that has made them successful. So I would say the same thing to young leaders out there. I mean, you are not alone. Every challenge you are facing right now, everything you are working through right now, would ultimately lead to success if you continue to be resilient. I mean, that's just it for me. You are not alone. And everybody is with you, cheering you on and supporting you. We'll be there to celebrate you too.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for several years I have advocated for the development of community activism as a culture in Africa. I think we need what we need is not to wait for our states to do everything for us, and I believe that the greatest evidence of leadership at this stage is discipline. We must believe in the professional and apply the measures. One must also be engaged in sharing good information, because as we say, bad information can cost life. I believe that after this crisis, we will have learned to better manage the peripecias of life, and with flexibility and resilience, if we all got involved in a responsible way. Mm-hmm. Above all, let's not forget to capitalize on the good practices recorded at this time, because they really exist. Let me give you a simple example. It was during this crisis that our president realized that the level of internet connection is very poor in our country, because he has practiced video conferences a lot at this moment. I think this has certainly avoided high expenses in his multiple trips that could be invested in the IT sectors for the country. Yeah, so I think I want to invite in more engagement for our communities. We have to participate in peace building, in good governance, and the development process through community actions in our different countries. We do not have to create barriers or limits, and we need to be focused on every single small activity, as it will be the one that will bring the positive change that our countries are looking for. Finally, do not waste too much time in preparing. Take the first step, and the ground will guide you until you succeed.
That is such a perfect way, I think, to wrap up our discussion. I feel like we could continue this conversation all day. I wish we could just go out for a cup of tea and keep talking. But in the interest of time, I think we do need to wrap up. We are so grateful to both of you, Ibrahima and Peju, for sharing your time with us today, and your thoughts and your ideas and your perspectives and your experiences, concrete experiences about this complex COVID-19 time and the concept of resilience and its links to civic leadership and servant leadership. One thing that Ibrahima said that stuck with me is he said that his community sees him as a guardian of the community. And it's clear to me that both of your communities see you in this way, as guardians of the public good. And then something that Peju said, I'm going to take with me for the rest of my day and my week, is that there is no handbook for this. None of us have done this before. We're all in this together. And it's a good reminder to take it easy on ourselves and to really face forward together to get through this tough time. And to all of you who took the time to join us today, thank you so much. And we hope you've gained some good insights and ideas that you can adapt for your own work and continue your own leadership journey through these uncertain times. And we encourage you to continue to engage with the Mandela Washington Fellowship to help cultivate the next generation of servant leaders. And please stay tuned on social media and other channels for more information about upcoming opportunities for alumni and other fellowship stakeholders in early 2021, because the learning and the networking and the opportunities are definitely going to continue. And for those of you who are 2021 selected candidates and fellowship alumni who are turning in, we do encourage you as well to take advantage of the many practical leadership resources that are currently available through the brand new fellowship portal. And that includes Givitas, which is a really cool, it was new to me, knowledge sharing platform that's designed to build a collaborative community by allowing users to post asks for specific skill sets and questions that other members of the network can then respond to. There's a lot of really neat stuff happening on Givitas. And also then, and I mentioned this before, the online fellowship course offerings to explore strategies for leading in times of crisis and getting through complex situations. There are all kinds of topics on there on grant writing and public health communications and business skills. It's just a really great resource and very, very accessible and practical. But beyond all else, please know that that we all of us have the strength and the resilience to be effective, proactive servant leaders, not just during these tough times, but all the time. And we're here together to support each other in our respective leadership journeys. This network, the Fellowship Network, is such a valuable one. It's full of expertise and wisdom and knowledge. And it continues to lead and connect and inspire everyone to be servant leaders wherever we are, whatever we do. Thank you again so much for joining us today. And we all wish you good health and continued success in your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.